third dimension that we all kind of exist within, right? This physical world. But then there's also this digital layer that sits over top of it, and that's in the form of like, I guess Foursquare and Koala have that mapping technology. But you can go into a place and it has this physical aspect, but there's also the digital layer that you can interact with in some way. And that's what's kind of coming out in AR right now, right? You're paying attention to some of those things, like you walk around with the app open, and I know there's being games developed around it right
now. There are
now.
billboards that are augmented reality where it'll. I remember a campaign in Europe. There was a billboard that showed you on the street, and then it had a fight break out, and it watched as like no one intervenes, and it's like that stop. Like you have to intervene and be the police yourself. It's kind of helping people advocate to stop violence.
That's cool.
And, we haven't seen anything over here yet, but is that kind of where that's headed? Is that where?
I think so. I think it's becoming such a more, used thing, and more people are becoming more comfortable with it, and they're becoming more, adept to it, right? Is that
yeah.
the word for it?
When I think about it, right now it's centered around things, but I think the next step would be centering around people. So instead of going to a location and looking for, a pen, now go to Mojo's Lounge and talk to Cappy and ask her this specific question for, whatever the piece is. And it moves around with the person. Maybe it's tagged to her phone. So as she moves around the store, you have to find maybe a server or someone. Like now you're getting not only interaction with the physical space, because we don't really care. Like I don't care about this picture. I don't care about this couch.
Right.
But if I get connected to my server here, I'm always going to come eat here. So maybe that's the next step of these geolocation based. Exactly.
That's interesting. So like the old school relationship that you had with like a diner waitress, that's like that made you go back to that diner. Now it's like it's corporatized. Everything is that way. So even if you go to McDonald's, you're formulating a relationship with a human being across the counter. So brand doesn't really even matter at that point. That's interesting.
Well, we build these complex computer systems to teach us how to do things like we're doing right now. And how do I communicate with people? I had a brand ask us on emails, how we want to connect with people. How to just talk to them, just say hello. We had a guy tell us that when we were talking to him about management, he said, I know the conversation piece is secondary, but how do we get leads? And I didn't know what to say to this guy. Suffice to say, it didn't work out. But yeah, it's weird to see as we're layering this technology to teach us how to do these simple human interactive, gestures that we've known for tens of thousands of years. Now apparently we've forgotten because we have these layers of electronics in front of us.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, like the way that we have been disconnected from each other for so long, but like we were saying earlier, like what there is, we've got consciousness, third dimension, and we've got subconsciousness. From the data that we consume, it churns and produces something. We output something, whether it's specific to our collective interests or not. But then there's also this layer of like collective consciousness, which is what we all think and feel, and that might be geographically specific, like the elections in Iran. Or for me, it was one of the things that like really stuck out in my mind. Why and how social media is so powerful is like when Michael Jackson passed away. That information showed up in my stream within 3 minutes of the coroner saying Michael Jackson just passed away. It was there automatically, and it shot through how many different avenues to get to that point. So we're able now to understand topics, and they're not squashed by any other organization. It's what we want to talk about, what we care about, surfaces, rises to the top, and that becomes something that we pay attention to, and then make an action about. Like when the earthquake in Haiti took place, it was like a lot of people really got behind it and started trying to promote it. And if you text this to that number, then you're donating $10. So they raised a bunch of money. Whether that solved anything, whether that money actually went to solving the issues there, like with what is it? It's not malaria. What's their major disease that they're facing right now?
I'm not sure.
Dysentery?
It's not dysentery. It's something else, like worse. Cholera.
Cholera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like now that's a topic, and that's something that can rise to the surface a lot quicker globally than it ever did before. So now this is like able to connect us as human beings, and it's squashing barriers of nationality and of belief structures. It's like getting us down to our core base of what we as human beings need and what we care about.
Well, let me ask you this. So, you have all these channels. Do you think at any time that because we have 1 billion channels now, and our values getting mixed up, do we ever have issues as humans deciding what's important and what isn't? Because not only do we have our friends and our real life associates there, and we also have 20 to 50 million marketers per platform, that all want our attention. And then we have, maybe a couple million causes and nonprofits that we care about. How do people determine what's going on, and how does that affect our decision making and what's important or not? Is it by who markets the best? Is it by who yells the loudest? Or eventually are we just going to say, forget it, I don't want to be involved, and just go back to hanging out with the kid next door?
I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's making people a lot more aware. As far as decision making goes, I think the whole TSA thing was a flop. That came up as a big.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It came up. They're like, us stand in front and make it take forever. No, I've got a plane to catch. I'm going down. I'm not gonna mess with that. Decision making, I think, it's making people a lot more aware. It's making them think more responsibly. Like, oh well, I won't do that the next time I'm out. It may not make them like actually physically do something right now or like donate all their money, but it might actually make them. It might help like manipulate or shift their modality or their thought processes.
Or maybe pass the message on to someone who can.
Yeah, exactly.
Act in the best benefit.
Yeah, because that's it, right? What's the best form of marketing? Word of mouth. And how do you get things into people's heads? I mean, yeah, TV was the first way that information was projected to people, and you can like box that in. You can make that message real clear and concise, and the person who's consuming that information is going to formulate their belief structure based on what's being projected at them. And they might like think about it a little bit, but because the information that's been projected at them is so concise, sometimes they just default on it. That's the truth. Now the information that's out there with Google and with Twitter being, I think, for me, the primary sources of information. Google's like all over the place. You can swim all over and like get as much information as you want to define your point or define your identity or whatever it is that you want. But with Twitter, you kind of got an angle on it, and you just kind of hold your hands out, and that information is poured into them, and you can pick and choose what you want, and you're able to define your message or your mission a little bit more easily. So I think, as far as like decision making goes, I think it's actually helping. In terms of entertainment factor from the marketers and advertisers, I look at some of those things and I'm like, awesome production value. I don't care about your product. Like Old Spice. I thought Old Spice was so successful. I thought it was awesome. But then when I go into the aisles, I'm like, your products still smell chemically. They don't really like use products that are safe for the environment. Like chemicals that are safe for the environment. So I'm not gonna buy it.
So are you saying that that the emphasis actually still needs to be on building just the best product?
And that is the voice of God you hear because he's off camera.
No, we can turn it. Hold on. We're doing it live.
Well, I did have one more thing to say before it gets back to my point about armchair activists.
Yeah.
So right now it's so easy. I think we get sidetracked by the like button, by the follow me button, by the subscribe button, that we believe we're making a change by doing that. I think our calls to action are wrong. So we focus. Thank you so much. We focus on like my page, right? Not donate $5. And that was my issue with those memes.
Yeah.
It's not donate to, I'm like, hire a scientist, pay his salary so he can find the cure to breast cancer. Don't buy a pink shirt. It's not it, because then you have the bureaucracy. It costs something to make that shirt. So if you spend 25, 13 of it goes to the cost, and then 7 goes to marketing. You don't only give it 6. Just give it a full 25. And I know marketers, won't like that, but we have to find more efficient ways to make our dollar and support the causes, not distract from the cause with these artificial touch points or these artificial activism points.
I think that's an interesting point. Like where advertising has been in the 20th century model is like, let's just puke information out to a mass of people and hope that some of them consume it and apply it and then put it to use, you know? But we're getting now to this point where people know exactly what brands they participate in, what they like, and Facebook might run an algorithm based on keywords that you use and things that show up in your profile or things that you search through on Google, and then they're gonna like project information at you and things. But I'm not saying on singles.net it makes no difference to me. I don't need that showing up in my profile every time I'm on there. So we need to move on to, I think, transition into being able to select how we want to be marketed to. Going to like perhaps like a website where you're like, when anybody visits my profile, pick my outward-facing profile on Facebook. Of course, I've got my inward-facing for my mirror. You know, it's like the mirror and the mask on Facebook. Like when you're looking at the profile, you're like looking in the mirror. You're like, this is what I want to see. Here's how I want to project it. So that outward-facing profile, when someone goes to my site and they're looking at it, okay, I see he does this, that, and the other. There's gonna be advertisements on both sides because Facebook needs to make money. But those advertisements don't necessarily coalesce with my brand, my personal brand.
We were talking about that earlier today.
Light bulb moment.
Yeah.